Most people think emotional maturity means staying calm all the time. It does not. Emotional maturity is not about never feeling angry, hurt, jealous, rejected, or overwhelmed. It is about what you do after you feel those things. It is the space between the emotion and the reaction. And for a long time, Maya did not have any space at all. If she felt disrespected, she snapped. If she felt ignored, she shut down. If she felt embarrassed, she turned it into blame. If someone criticized her, even gently, she heard attack. She thought she was being honest. She thought she was being strong, but really she was being run by whatever feeling hit first. And the strange thing was, it was exhausting, not because her life was unusually hard, but because her emotions had become emergencies. Every small disappointment turned into a story. Every disagreement became personal. Every uncomfortable feeling demanded immediate action. She was always reacting, always defending, always trying to protect her ego before it could even be touched. The moment that changed her did not come during some dramatic breakdown. It came on a normal Tuesday afternoon. She had spent the whole day trying to keep everything together. Work was stressful. Her phone would not stop buzzing. A friend had canceled plans last minute. And then in a meeting, someone pointed out a mistake she had made in front of the rest of the team. It was not cruel. It was not humiliating. It was simply true. But Maya felt her face get hot. Her chest tightened. Her mind raced for something sharp to say back. She smiled that tight smile people wear when they are 1 second away from saying something they will regret. And she said nothing. After the meeting, she walked to her car and sat there with both hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead. She felt childish, not because she had made a mistake, but because she still could not handle being seen making one. That night, she told her older brother what happened. He listened for a while and then said something she never forgot. He said, "You are not reacting to this moment. You are reacting to every moment before it that you never learned how to sit with." That sentence landed like a stone in still water. Over the next months, Maya started learning what emotional maturity actually looked like. Not in theory, in real life, in traffic, in arguments, in silence, in disappointment, in the tiny moments where her old self would have taken over. The first thing she learned was to pause, not forever, just long enough to interrupt the reflex. When someone said something irritating, she did not answer immediately. When she felt herself getting defensive, she took one breath before speaking. That tiny pause became her first piece of freedom, because most immature reactions are not the result of deep thought. They are the result of speed. Emotion says go, and the body goes before the mind can catch up. She started asking herself one question before every response. What am I actually feeling right now? Not what am I accusing them of? Not what story am I telling? What am I feeling? That question changed everything, because most people are terrible at naming their emotions. They say they are angry when they are actually hurt. They say they are fine when they are actually ashamed. They say they do not care when they are actually scared. Maya realized that when you name the feeling correctly, it loses some of its power. A feeling that is understood is easier to carry than a feeling that is disguised. The second thing she learned was that feelings are real, but they are not always facts. This was a hard lesson for her. If she felt left out, she assumed people were excluding her. If she felt criticized, she assumed people disrespected her. If she felt anxious, she assumed something was wrong. But emotional maturity taught her to separate the inner weather from the outer world. Just because I feel rejected does not mean I am being rejected. Just because I feel embarrassed does not mean I am in danger. Just because I feel angry does not mean I am right. That one was humbling, but it made her wiser because she stopped turning every emotion into a verdict. The third thing she learned was responsibility, not blame, responsibility. There is a huge difference. Immature people ask, who caused this? Mature people ask, what part is mine? Maya spent years blaming tone, timing, luck, other people's inconsideration, and the unfairness of life. And sometimes, yes, other people really were inconsiderate, but she noticed something uncomfortable. Even when someone else was wrong, her reaction still belonged to her. Her words were still hers. Her choices were still hers. That did not make her guilty for everything. It made her powerful over something. She could not control every situation, but she could control whether she escalated it, poisoned it, or handled it with dignity. The fourth thing she learned was how to tolerate discomfort without running from it. This was bigger than it sounds. A lot of emotional immaturity is just a low tolerance for discomfort. People scroll, snap, argue, numb, binge, ghost, overtalk, or collapse because they cannot sit still with what they feel. Maya had been doing that for years without noticing. The second she felt awkward, she reached for her phone. The second she felt lonely, she texted someone for validation. The second she felt hurt, she started rehearsing revenge in her head. So she practiced staying with the feeling instead of escaping it. Sometimes that meant sitting in silence and breathing through the discomfort. Sometimes that meant not sending the text. Sometimes that meant letting embarrassment pass without trying to bury it. She learned that most emotions peak and fade if you do not feed them with panic. That was a huge discovery because the feeling was not the enemy. The panic around the feeling was. The fifth thing she learned was how to listen to understand instead of listening to reply. This one changed her relationships. Before, she listened for openings. She listened to correct, to defend, to win. If someone was upset with her, she was already building her case while they were still talking. But mature listening is different. It is slower, quieter, less interested in being right, and more interested in being clear. Maya began noticing how often she had misunderstood people simply because she had been waiting for her turn to speak. So she started asking better questions. What do you mean by that? What felt hurtful about that? What do you need from me right now? That kind of listening makes people feel seen, and more importantly, it keeps you from turning every conversation into a competition. The sixth thing she learned was how to apologize without protecting her ego. This was a hard one because a real apology requires letting your image take a small hit. Before, Maya would say things like, "I am sorry you felt that way," or "I am sorry, but you have to understand," or "I was only joking." None of that was an apology. That was self-defense, wearing a nice shirt. A mature apology sounds more like this: "I was wrong. I see how that hurt you. I am sorry. I will do better." No excuse, no speech, no performance. At first, it felt vulnerable. Then it started to feel clean. There is something deeply relieving about not having to protect your ego all the time. You become lighter when you stop dragging your pride into every room. The seventh thing she learned was boundaries, not walls. Boundaries. There is a difference. Walls are about keeping everyone out. Boundaries are about knowing where you end and other people begin. Maya used to think mature people had to be endlessly available, endlessly understanding, endlessly forgiving, but she discovered that emotional maturity actually requires saying no without guilt when something costs your peace, your time, or your values. She stopped agreeing to things just to avoid awkwardness. She stopped saying yes when she meant maybe. She stopped rescuing people from consequences they needed to face. That did not make her cold. It made her honest. The eighth thing she learned was that not every emotion deserves a decision. This one saved her from a lot of bad choices. She used to make decisions in the middle of emotional storms. She would quit, text, spend, confess, cancel, or confront while still activated. Now she waits. If she is angry, she waits. If she is overwhelmed, she waits. If she is hurt, she waits. Not forever, just long enough for her nervous system to come down. Because emotional maturity is not suppression, it is timing. A mature person does not deny how they feel. They simply refuse to let the feeling become the boss before the mind has had a chance to speak. The ninth thing she learned was to stop making every setback mean something about her identity. This was a quiet but powerful shift. Before, if she failed, she was a failure. If someone left, she was unlovable. If a plan fell apart, she was cursed. That kind of thinking is brutal because it turns events into verdicts. Maya learned to separate the moment from the meaning. One mistake does not define me. One rejection does not erase me. One bad day does not become my character. That does not mean she became numb. It means she became stable. And the 10th thing, the one that tied all the others together, was this. She started choosing values over moods. That is emotional maturity in one sentence. Mood says, stay in bed. Values say get up and do the work. Mood says send the angry message. Values say wait and respond with dignity. Mood says avoid the hard talk. Values say speak honestly. Mood says protect your ego. Values say protect your peace. The more Maya practiced this, the more she noticed something beautiful. She stopped being impressed by her own reactions. She became more interested in her principles. And that is usually the moment a person starts becoming truly mature, not when they become emotionless. Not when they stop hurting, not when life becomes easy, but when their feelings are no longer the only thing driving the car. A year later, Maya was not perfect. She still got irritated. She still felt embarrassed. She still had days when old habits showed up, but now there was distance. There was self-awareness. There was a calm center that did not disappear every time life got uncomfortable. And that was the real change. She had not become a different person. She had become a more responsible one. So if you want to become more emotionally mature, do not start by trying to to feel less. Start by learning to pause. Learn to name what you feel. Learn the difference between feelings and facts. Learn to take responsibility without drowning in guilt. Learn to listen. Learn to apologize. Learn to set boundaries. Learn to sit with discomfort. Learn to stop making every event about your identity. And above all, learn to choose your values over your moods. That is how you grow up emotionally, not by becoming harder. By becoming steadier, not by shutting your heart down, by putting wisdom around it. If this video helped you, write one word in the comments that describes the area where you want to become more emotionally mature. Maybe it is patience. Maybe it is self-control. Maybe it is boundaries. Maybe it is communication. Name it and you start changing it. Master your mind, master your life. I will see you in the next one.